This is the second part of my Bad Vehicle Games Iceberg trilogy. I've already covered Crazy Bus, and next up after this video will be the finale, Big Rigs. Also note that I've added my own entries here and there. Desert Bus is a game where the one and only objective is to drive a bus from Arizona to Las Vegas. Other than driving the bus straight for 8 hours, there is absolutely nothing to do. You'd think that such a game would have nothing deeper than that, but there is an iceberg to be explained, so let's get to it. Penn and Teller's Smoke and Mirrors. Desert Bus is not a game on its own, but is rather one of 6 games in an unreleased game collection for the Sega CD, called Penn and Teller's Smoke and Mirrors. The collection was intended to be a satire of video games as a whole, given that it was made by the magician and comedian duo Penn and Teller. I won't be talking about the other games in the collection since this is a Desert Bus iceberg, but I may try the game and make a video on it if you're interested. AVGN. The AVGN has actually covered all 3 of the games in this trilogy, and the episodes were the first time most of you have probably heard of these games, so it's safe to say they wouldn't be as known without him. Desert Bus for Hope. Desert Bus for Hope is a charity that does annual marathons of Desert Bus to raise money for children's hospitals. As of writing, it has raised more than $12 million and has been running for 18 years straight, making it the longest running online fundraiser. It's really quite impressive how much good this horrible game has made. Desert Bus 64. Desert Bus 64 is a ROM hack of Super Mario 64 that has Mario driving for 8 hours to get 1 star. Fly. Rarely, a fly can actually splat on the windshield. This is supposedly the most exciting thing that can happen during the long drive. Losing. The bus apparently has a broken tire because it ever so slightly veers to the right if you're not constantly correcting it. This is an anti-cheat measure made so that players couldn't simply hold down the button for 8 hours while doing something else. If you let the bus veer too far, it will become lodged in the desert sand and that's game over. However, the game won't even let you start over right away, because the bus now has to be towed all the way back to Arizona in real time. Comparisons to Big Rigs. Big Rigs Over-the-Road Racing is another bad driving game that has been compared to Desert Bus, but I don't really see the similarity here since Desert Bus actually has some kind of goal. Desert Bus VR, this is self-explanatory. Day and Night Cycle. Desert Bus actually has a real-time day and night cycle. It's quite obscure because only people crazy enough to play this game for hours on end would actually find it. Mario Kart Wii Custom Track. There is indeed a Mario Kart Wii track of Desert Bus. Atari 2600 port. Somebody actually ported Desert Bus to the Atari 2600. Funnily enough, it's actually one of the only D-Make ports in existence that doesn't change the gameplay that much due to there being nothing at all to change. 99 points. Every single time you complete an 8-hour drive in Desert Bus, you earn 1 point. The maximum number of points you can get in this game is 99, which will require playing the game for 33 days straight with no breaks to sleep or eat. Speedruns. There isn't really any good way to speedrun this game since the bus always moves at only 45 miles per hour, but nevertheless there are still submitted speedruns on speedrun.com. However, the entry states that speedruns are actually trying to lose the game as quickly as possible, though I couldn't find anything on that. Real bus ride planned. Apparently, Desert Bus was actually planned to be a lot more than just a satire. Penn and Teller had actually planned a real Desert Bus competition where players would compete to see how many points they could get, and whoever got the most points would be gifted an actual bus ride from Tucson to Las Vegas with Penn and Teller, but they would also get a 4-day vacation. Obviously, the game was never released, so this was cancelled. No pause button. The game cannot even be paused to take a break. The manual states that, no, it's not an oversight. Does your life have a pause button? Yes, it is true that life does not have a pause button. However, any functioning vehicle does have a pause button. It's called a brake. Nobody in real life drives for 8 hours straight without stopping. I know that you can't stop in the middle of the highway, but I'm pretty sure any highway should have gas stations or exits. Also, one detail I find hilarious is that the gas tank is perpetually empty. This bus is running on nothing but determination. Desert Bus mods. There are actually so many games with Desert Bus mods. that the creator of this Iceberg has made an Iceberg just for games with Desert Bus mods. I am not covering that Iceberg. If somebody else wants to, go ahead. Desert Bus is peak, and can't argue with that. Kaizo Robot 64 Desert Bus. I'll just quote the creator here since they can explain it better. In the Kaizo Robot 64 mod, there is a 1,000,000 stud long walkway that takes 7 hours to walk down one way, and to 100% the game, you will need to walk down it in a round trip which takes 14 hours. Why is no one on the bus? Yeah, why is no one on the bus? It's not likely that you're driving that far just to take the bus to a depot or something. And if absolutely nobody wanted to take the bus, you'd think they'd just cancel the route for the day, right? But then again, this isn't a normal bus route. The road is one 360-mile long slab of asphalt, with no turns, no towns, no service stops, not even any cars or terrain variation. And while you're supposedly driving from Tucson to Las Vegas, you never see either city. But what if this game isn't really a satire at all? What if it's a representation of purgatory in a way we can best comprehend it? Think about it. If purgatory is real, this is what it would be. I personally believe Penn and Teller discovered the truth of the afterlife and tried their best to explain it in a way that we could understand with this game, but it was never released because somebody didn't want us to know that after we die, we'll all be driving buses in the desert for all eternity.